Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Mountain Witch Tarot channel. I am your host, Sarah, and today we're going to be taking a look at Donald Trump in the month of August. We're going to do a Lenormand Grand Tableau for him. But first, we're going to start off with a little bit of tarot and just pull a few short, quick spreads to kind of check and see where he is, like what kind of headspace he's in, what he's thinking about right now. I have a feeling that we probably all know. Anyway, in the meantime, don't forget to click that like button. And if you enjoy political divination and you want to stick around, go ahead and click the subscribe. And we'll get started here. Looks like we got a card ready to come out, the Nine of Pentacles. We'll go ahead and get a few cards down for Donald Trump. And this will just be like how he's feeling, general energy check. All right, so Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, Four of Cups, the Eight of Cups. So right off, the first thing I notice, it kind of feels like he is thinking about his insulation and how that kind of provides him the safety of, not having to face a lot of his problems. He's very insulated in the Nine of Pentacles energy, where he has, the means, well-being, like financial, material well-being. And then like with the Queen of Cups, there's this sense of knowing what you want and how to get it. And also not caring what anyone else thinks along the way. And then we have like the Four of Cups and the Eight of Cups. And this is where, maybe people around him are telling him to be more aware of what's happening. Then we move over to the other side of the spread where we have the Force card, Queen of Swords, and the Ten of Wands. Now, the interesting thing about Force, incidentally, is that it talks about the month of August and the energy of the Leo. And it just so happens we're doing a reading for Trump in August. So that's kind of an interesting, neat little tidbit here. What's even more interesting, though, are the hands applying force to a mouthful of really sharp teeth. So that's kind of indicative of dealing with a pretty big problem. Queen of Swords, defensive thoughts. Trump's feeling defensive right now. And with Ten of Wands, this has come out before. There's a lot of restraint, withholding communication. He's probably feeling trapped and caged right now. So I don't think he's really in a great headspace at this very moment. I think he is trying to find the balance between, do I stay quiet? Do I speak up? Because we know he likes to run his mouth. So we got already the Ace of Pentacles popping out down below. And this is once again another reference to financial security, and especially like manifesting power by way of material circumstances. So more of a reference to his insulation and the padding that protects him, because, when you're wealthy and you're in a position of power, it's a lot harder for problems to touch you or get close to you. You have the privilege of being able to evade problems a little easier than the average person. So over here we have the Six of Swords coming out. Let's see, let's just scoot these up just a smidge. The Six of Swords, we're kind of seeing reference to like a quiet passage through hard times, and kind of going away to lick your wounds, and a need for getting perspective. And then with the Nine of Cups following that, I think, probably has a lot to do with avoiding stress and conflict by distracting yourself with other things. And it seems pretty obvious that he's likely taking all this very hard. And I love that for him. I love it. So we have the Seven of Swords now. And this is kind of a reference, I think, to creating problems for yourself and lying and sneaking around. And then over here we have the King of Swords. We have the Lover card, and then the Two of Swords. Now, with the Seven of Swords, this is evasion as a means of solving your problems. So I've mentioned this before. This is him ignoring things and pretending like things are not happening in order to not have to face them. And, with the King of Swords, it often comes up, representative of his energy. So I feel like he is probably feeling like he has a definite role in this situation and that he can control this situation because he is making an appearance in this spread. And for him, like, he's not a true King of Swords. I think he thinks he's a King of Swords because, he considers himself a master of all this intellect and logic and whatnot. But realistically, he's more of the negative side of it where he's defensive and stubborn and maybe a master of confusion. And then with the Lover and the Two of Swords, I think these two kind of mingle together to illustrate a point about indecision, where you want one thing, but in order to get it, you have to do the opposite. You have to do what feels counterintuitive. And I feel like that's coming up again in the Two of Swords as well, because this is also about two issues. Super interesting spreads here. Let's go ahead and get into the grand tableau for August. All right, y'all, Donald Trump in August. We are shuffled and ready to go. Let's start laying out the first line of our grand tableau. So we're starting off with the Whip, the Administration, and the Ship. Now that we got 3 cards down, we can kind of see a little bit of information. We're going to do this one different, by the way. We can see a little information here. So we have the Administration and progress and a repeated action. So that's kind of an interesting clue. Let's see what else we get. Okay, very interesting. So for the first time in a really long time, Donald Trump is not on the top line of his grand tableau. Now, what does that mean? That means that he is finally feeling out of control of his situation. What we do have, we have the Whip, the Administration, and the Ship as our entry cards. I believe what we're seeing here is some cuts to the Administration and an invitation to someone new. Then we have with the Mountain and Donald Trump's presidential duty to the country. That's kind of an interesting clue as to who this person might be, or if it's multiple people. We'll kind of see once the second line is down. But I really feel like this first few cards here is kind of telling us that we're going to see some people removed from the administration in August. All right, so we've got a few clues here about the administration changes. So we've got the birds, the sun, and the clouds. Without much context, we can't say for sure what we have here. That's what all of the cards together are for, of course, is to give us context. But right off, just my immediate reaction to this block of cards here is that there's probably a good chance that there's going to be some type of revelation in August about either one or more persons in the administration who possibly have been kind of going behind Donald Trump's back, because we have like the chatter card. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that this is someone who is talking out both sides of their mouth. Maybe they're telling Trump one thing and then telling other people something else. We also have the sun and the clouds, and this kind of reinforces this chitter chatter that I'm getting from these cards here. And this is someone who is, with the clouds specifically, they don't have his best interest in mind. This could very well be JD, actually, now that I'm thinking of it. It feels kind of like a JD type energy. I feel like there is a situation where it's someone revealed to not be as loyal as we all thought they were. So let's keep going and see what we get. Now we're getting the first 2 cards of the heart of the story. These are always exciting cards. Oh, now you know that the house card, while we don't necessarily reassign the house card often shows up as the White House. Or do we reassign? I can't even remember. I haven't done a tableau for Trump in so long. Either way, the White House is about to see some changes. So again, more reinforcement of what we're seeing up here on this side of the tableau. And we still haven't seen Trump. He still hasn't made his appearance yet. And we're almost through the second line. So that's very interesting because that is a good indicator that he is very much out of control of things right now. So change coming to the White House. The loyalists. Interesting. This is about the farthest the loyalists in the administration have been. So I feel like there's a pretty big divide showing here in the tableau. So we got a little letter, a little information. There's some information traveling through the pipeline for the loyalists this month. It could be something small. Could be something, just a quick tidbit of something. I feel like it's going to carry some weight because above it, we do have the lilies card. And it's in a block with the mountain. So there's a lot of emphasis right here. And we'll kind of see as we go what comes out. But maybe hearing some type of important news regarding the loyalists. And this may even be MAGA. MAGA turning on Trump. Kind of makes sense, like a new outlook, basically, for the loyalists. Sometimes with this loyalist cards, I think more of like the famous loyalists than the everyday Joe Schmo American MAGA. But this could be in reference to, civilian MAGA. So let's keep going. Let's get another shuffle here. Donald Trump's biggest news in August. Let's get another line. It's so interesting that Donald Trump has not made an appearance in his grand tableau yet. So interesting. We still don't see Trump. We are over halfway through the third line. Trump is not in his tableau yet. Very strange. What is in his tableau at the heart of his story is the burden, the cross, and the coffin. Now, together with, the whole picture present at this point, the four center cards, this kind of looks like maybe some of the conspiracy theories that are going around right now, specifically on TikTok, might be right. There are a lot of people right now saying that there will be a big thing happen in August. And also, the Simpsons prediction, and then Jay Schlatt on Twitter, and like all these other people who are theorizing that, it may finally happen. This would be a good combination of cards to indicate that it's time for it to happen. I'm not saying that it is, because the cards have never to date revealed to me when Trump would exit stage left. Okay, just always want to make that clear. I've never made that prediction. The cards have never indicated that to me. But this is a good combination of cards to indicate that it's possible, because we have, transformation in the White House that comes with burdensome endings. So it's there. Take it for what it's worth. Now, the first three cards here, let's talk about the crossroads, the garden, and the snake. It's a little bit enigmatic. What I'm kind of feeling with these three cards is I'm thinking about how similar the crossroad and the garden is, just visually and as far as a concept goes. This one, an open expanse where you're walking alone. This one, an open expanse where maybe you're gathered with people. And then it's followed up immediately by the snake. And I feel like this is a good way to kind of depict a situation where there are a lot of people coming and going, but there's an element of loss, like something's gone here. It was something like a surprising loss. And I'm not trying to kind of like re-emphasize this. I'm just telling you what I think about these three cards independently. I'm just getting this really enigmatic feeling of a lot of people milling around, but there's a lot of confusion about direction. A lot of these people also, they're kind of focused on their specific goals and what they want specifically. So I guess to kind of clarify this a little bit more, if we do find ourselves in a situation in August where it happens, okay, imagine it as we haven't been in this situation for a really long time in this country, so it's going to be a very new experience. There's going to be a lot of chaos, and it's going to be like a hectic time where people are pushing and pulling and trying to get their time in the spotlight and get their needs met before anyone else. So I keep feeling like this feels more like Fox card energy, but I think it showed up as the snake to kind of indicate a surprise ambush situation. So there's just like a ton of uncertainty here, and we'll kind of go through and look, in context once we've laid out all the cards. But this really coincides with what's in the center of the story here. So let's keep going and see if we can get Trump to pop up in his own tableau. This is crazy. He's never appeared this low. Looks like we're going to finish out the third line without him. Is this next card him? Nope, it's the bear. Interesting. This is really strange. Okay, so what do we got? We got the tower, we've got the moon, and we've got the bear. I'm going to be honest with you, until we get some more context, the only thing I'm picking up from these three cards is a big night in government. So let's keep going. Let's see. The fourth line, we are almost finished with the tableau. I have a feeling that Trump may not make his appearance until maybe his fate line. We may not see him in the fourth line either. That's kind of crazy. He's never been this low. So Trump's biggest news in August. What is the biggest Trump news in the month of August? All right, here we go. Let's see. Is it Trump? Nope, it is the Fox card, and that's a pretty good place for it to be, I think. And we are going to have to adjust the camera in just a few minutes to get the fate line in as well, but we'll get there. All right, so the Fox card, obviously self-interest, and this makes a ton of sense with what I was telling you about these three cards. And remember, I even said I feel like this is Fox card energy, so I was definitely on track here. Everything I said about these three cards, I stand by it, and this, I feel like, is my confirmation. Next card up, the mice. The scythe, wow, still no Trump. Holy cow. Something's going on, guys. This is, wow. This is interesting. Oh, and there's Trump's loyalty, his secret alliances, the horse rider, news coming, the tree. Oh my God, where is Trump, you guys? This is crazy. Oh, there he is. There he is. Interesting, interesting. And the bottom line of the tableau is the fish. Hopefully I can get this in frame. I may go ahead and move the camera real quick. Okay, now that we've got everything in frame, let's talk about it. Donald Trump finally decided to show up in his grand tableau. This is amazing. I have never, ever, as many GTs as I've done for this man, he has never been below the second line. He's always at the top. I think once or twice, very recently, he was in the second line. This is the lowest he's ever showed up. And what that essentially means is that the lower the significator is that you're inquiring the cards about, the more pressure and the more energy they have, coming down on top of them. So he is at the very end of his tableau too. Like, he's not even in the center. So we don't even have like full context around him. He's at a very low point right now, clearly. And it is very, very interesting that he appeared at the center of these three cards, because if you remember what I said about these three cards was the only thing I was kind of getting from them, big knot in politics. So I know what this is sounding like. I'm not going to play dumb here. This entire tableau seems to be reinforcing the theories that it is going to happen in August. We're not going to go down that road because I personally don't think that that's the case. Personally, I think we're very unfortunately stuck with Trump until, the end of his term, and then he's going to probably put up a huge fight to not leave office. That's my personal opinion. But what we're seeing here in the cards is really pretty fascinating. This, I would say, I couldn't think of really much of a better combination to indicate a death or a passing in the White House than these four cards, and they're his center four, so they're very significant. Let's take a look at his four corners, because the four corners are always very significant as well, and then we'll take a look at him. So we're starting off with the whip and the lily, which the lily in this case is his presidential duty to the country. Then we have the fox, which is like self-interest and work and those types of things. And then we have the fish card. Now the fish card here, this one's going to be a little tricky to interpret. We're going to have to lean on some context clues. What is it talking about? Well, with the four cards together, I feel like we're seeing him do something again that he has done before, something that is in self-interest, something that affects the entire country, something that very well could be financial. This could also indicate the flow of something. So interestingly enough, I'm stopping on the flow of something, because on the opposite side of him is the tree card, which a lot of people interpret as health or well-being. So the flow of, once again, I'm just going to tell you, once again, these three cards plus these three cards makes it kind of seem like these cards are telling the entire story. I'm trying not to see it that way. That's what it looks like. We're going to look for another answer. I'm not going to just, accept that answer right off the bat. So what do we have over here closest to Trump? So we've got the big knot in politics, in government. Above that, we have, messaging, some type of communication involving the loyalists. And then we have like something new in the way of his presidential duty to the country. However, as I say that, I realize how funny that sounds. He doesn't even need anything to get in the way. So just to look for more context clues, if you remember at one point we were talking about these three cards over here. So now that we've finished out the line and the tableau, except for the fate line, we haven't got it yet. We do see that this feeds into the government. So something involving the government, and right around the government card, of course, we have the coffin, which is an ending, the horse rider bringing news. He's bringing the news from Trump's alliances, so like his administration. So think like Caroline Leavitt, news coming from Caroline Leavitt regarding health and well-being. So I kind of wonder if this is a financial reference, and just because immediately above it we do have the bear. So it could go either way at this point. We don't really know. And it's at the end of the tableau. It's the exit card. So kind of going to be hard to say for sure what the fish means in this context. And then over here we see, self-interest is kind of brought down in this row, bringing down whatever it is that he has been putting above other things. This could also go in the direction of saying like this is like a long-term thing that's been going on. Let's go ahead and get his fate line. There's really no point in shuffling these four cards. They're going to say the same thing no matter what order they fall into. But it's good for dramatic effect, I suppose. So what are we looking at here with the fate line. I'm just going to go ahead and pick these up so you guys can see them. What are we seeing here? The book, the heart, the anchor, the stars. Book and heart is pretty easy, pretty obvious. This is some type of revelation or exposed information that elicits emotion. So that one kind of makes sense here. And then with the next two cards, with the anchor and the stars, the first thing that came to mind, oddly enough for me, was a very abrupt stop and then followed by spreading information. So kind of like something happens, there's an abrupt stop, and then there's this, I don't want to say explosion, but, you know, like a really intense spreading of information. So there's something really interesting going on over on this side of the spread. And if you look, it kind of looks like, you know, starting with the key, running down to the ring, and then back over towards like the fox, the mouse, and the scythe. And this is all on the administration side. And if you notice, Trump and the administration are kind of on different sides of the reading. So this side here is for the administration. So I'm going to take this as it kind of looks like, I'm just going to say it looks like a mutiny. Looks a little bit like we're seeing maybe the administration turn on him a little bit. I feel like there's a sense of either like an investigation, some type of probe into something. Could be that there is a lot of people attached to the ring card energy, like his alliances and things that he had with these groups of people in the past is kind of coming apart because, you know, it's kind of trapped in here between the scythe and all of this stuff. It looks like that alliance is falling apart, and what's actually happening is these people are now maybe getting to a point where they're like, hey, this may be our one chance to get rid of this guy once and for all. I find that very interesting considering, you know, what's going on with the Epstein stuff. So I wonder if this could be that we're seeing a situation where some type of big development or information is being extracted from the Trump administration and or the White House. And if you look around the White House here, we have the dark side of the clouds touching. So there's trouble on the horizon for the administration and for, you know, the White House figuratively. And there's movement, transformation, some type of change. I just keep thinking that there is something involving the White House. Whatever it is, it's making progress into the light. It's like being coaxed out of the darkness, brought into the light here, and revealed. And then because of this revelation, we have some type of news of removals. It's interesting that if we look down into the fate line, kind of see like another reference to secret information, secret knowledge, something like that, with emotional ties. If we just isolate this block and look at it here, there's an interesting concept of, you know, different channels for information to come out. There could be something that's been traversing the system, or a certain type of path is about to be revealed publicly. And it's going to leave a lot of people, you know, kind of fighting through the confusion, and it's kind of like a big surprise problem. So also, you know, this is very closely attached to the White House, which would reinforce this line right here, kind of make a little more sense, and it ties right into it, which is in the center 4. That might be something that we need to be on the watch for in the month of August, is like, there's something that is hidden in the White House that, you know, some type of information likely to come out. If we take a look right up along this side over here, we can kind of see, gosh, this tripod is really right in my way. I'm so far back from the table. Sorry, I keep bumping the tripod. So up here, looking around the loyalists to kind of see what their behavior is going to be like in the upcoming month. It's interesting that we have ideas of blockages and invitations and movement and messaging. And the first thing I kind of think of when I look at this block right here are the Trump loyalists making a trip to the White House. And interestingly, it ties in a little bit right here. So these 4 cards, this very well could be a reference to the blocked Epstein files right here, because this is some type of information that's been traveling from hand to hand, but it's still being blocked, and it's looming over the card of reputation. It's also, with the moon card, also like a card of fears and things like that. So a lot of emphasis put on the letter here. And I'm even kind of wondering if this could be Ghislaine herself, because at one point in time, she was, in a way, a Trump loyalist. So this could be her releasing information, because we have loyalists and we have like a small opportunity, and then the block, which I feel like has something to do with the Epstein files because of the Lily card. So it could be Ghislaine, could be civilian MAGA. And it could be, the explanation for these 3 cards, because in context, they're all attached to this card. Could be that we see like a big protest of MAGA. But I think ultimately what it really looks like is either Ghislaine testifies, or there is some type of event that creates a spectacle that draws attention to something being held within the White House, whether that's information or some other type of connection. And all of this, too, is pressing down on Donald Trump. So this is all hanging over his head in a way that nothing ever has before. And just to kind of look at some of his diagonals and things like that, if we look here, we have like some type of access, and the government is changed. And that is attached to Trump, because we have, the tower for government, change, and access. So some type of access is changed in the month of August regarding Trump. Could be because of these files. I'll tell you, now that I've kind of looked through some of the other stuff here, I think that, and I'm glad that I did, because I could have easily just been like, oh, look, he's definitely going to unalive in the month of August, like everybody says. But I think, if anything, this is a figurative death. I don't think that this is a literal one. And you remember how I said that there was some confusion around this card? I think now in context, it makes a little bit more sense, because if we're taking into consideration all this information here, this makes me feel like this is definitely finances. So it could be that the information coming out in August, the big news, or the biggest news rather, for Donald Trump in the month of August, is this reputation-ending revelation where there's some type of financial details released. And that would really go along with this, and it would go along with like this chatter and this information traveling this path here and kind of culminating into like a really surprising big burden type problem, and bringing an ending in government. This could be, he could be impeached. That could be what we're seeing here. And a lot of times, too, I do wish this card was closer to this card, because if these two come through side by side or, on top of each other, I usually get some type of information on Congress or the Supreme Court. It's happened in the past, like the cards predicted that one big protest back in the spring at the Supreme Court. It's also previously, with these two cards together, predicted. There was one particular reading I did where I said, there could be like a bunch of people go to Washington, D.C. and protest outside the White House. Well, they ended up going out. I think it was just like outside of Congress or something. I don't remember specifically where. But two separate times at least, these two cards together with other cards for context have predicted, like a gathering of people in protest. And there is kind of an energy of that here because, we have the birds, we have a garden. So there could be something coming through right here. It's a little bit scattered. Could be that this is again pointing to a possible demonstration of some kind. where people are demanding the Epstein files and demanding that Trump does his job and serves his duty to the country. It would make the fate line make a little bit more sense too, because, you know, then here we would have this secret information that elicits great emotions is dropped publicly and spreads across the internet, spreads across the country, spreads throughout wherever. And that would really kind of pull together the fate line. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what that is. That is definitely secret information drops and spreads. That would explain what I got for these two cards early on in the reading. Wow, holy cow, guys. That's crazy. Wow. I think it's going to be a crazy month. It's going to be a convoluted month. Things are not going to be super straightforward in August with Trump. I think that in order to see a lot of this play out, you're going to have to pay very close attention to what's going on, because we can't depend on legacy media right now to kind of cover all the bases and keep us informed. I think there's likely going to be a lot of things hidden with all of this. It's funny too, I say that now. So the loyalists in government, remember how earlier I said we don't know which set of loyalists this is? This is a loyalist in government, likely some type of new strategy, blocking strategy, or like a strategy to disguise and shield this information, okay, because we have the tree looming over the stars and kind of blocking out the stars. So we can't see the stars for the tree. And who put the tree there? Well, the loyalists that are in government. So that's what that line means. Very interesting. You have to pay very close attention in August, because a lot's going to happen, but they're going to try to hide it. So wow, this is a very revealing tableau. At first I thought, oh boy, this one is not going to tell me anything. But now that I'm, kind of breaking it down, there's a lot of interesting information here. In fact, there's probably like a ton of other things I could point out, but I'll let you guys have some fun with it in the comments. If you all see anything here that you want to point out, feel free. Go ahead and drop those comments and let me know what you think of this tableau. Okay, well, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.